Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Last week I showed you part 1 of how I painted the cat in this artwork. This week I am going to show you the black lab and explain why it's really important to plan your paintings. I made a big error not figuring this section of the painting out before I started and ran into all sorts of difficulty because of it. Let's have a look at the time-lapse video and I will show you how I painted the black lab and give you some simple tips for changing your own paintings when they are not working. Originally, my commission reference photo looked more like this. The sofa that the animals were laying on was more of a grey-blue and a very similar value, temperature and colour to my dog. The result was my dog was lost against that sofa. So I knew right before the start I would need to change it, but I did not work it out before I started painting. Big mistake. As a consequence, I ended up removing my paint 4 times before I got it right. This was because I needed to change the value, colour and temperature. That was too many elements really to freestyle it on the painting. It required planning beforehand. Let's have a look at my palette for the black lab. The colours I am using are cadmium yellow, yellow ochre light, transparent oxide yellow, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, ultramarine deep and titanium zinc white. Black behaves exactly the same as my cream and my browns. I spoke about these last week. Black can have any of these hues shown on my colour wheel. Black can have a red hue, orange hue, yellow hue, green hue, blue hue and purple hue. If I show you this diagram, it may help explain what I am saying a little better. Complementary colours sit opposite each other on the colour wheel, with one colour being warm and the other being cool. Red is warm, green is cool, yellow is warm, purple is cool, orange is warm and blue is cool. Red is the warmest colour on the colour wheel, blue is our coolest. As our colours move towards blue, they get cooler. Using complementary colours is the best way to paint, especially when you have limited colour in your reference photos and have to find it in your neutrals. Looking at our diagram again, you can see our complementary pairings are present even in our blacks. So I need to mix up some colours on my palette that will give me these colourful blacks. I am going to start with a warm black of alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide and ultramarine deep. I'm then going to mix up a purple using cadmium red and ultramarine deep. My last black will be a green of ultramarine deep and transparent yellow oxide. I'm also going to mix up a couple of other colours too. One is an orange red of cadmium red and yellow ochre light. The second is a warmer green of ultramarine deep and yellow ochre light. I'm also going to take some of my black purple and add it to this row with a bit of white. This gives me a lot of my greys. These are the main colours I have used for my dog. I'll now explain how I have laid them. For the really dark areas of this dog, I will always use my warm black. So here, 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 here and here. For these areas here and here, I am working with the complementaries of red and green. I am using these 2 colours, mixing them in various strengths depending upon whether I want more green or red, and then adding white to give me the right value. As I move into these other areas, I shift to my purple. I am then working with the complementaries of yellow and purple. So I am mixing yellow into my purple in various strengths depending upon whether I want more yellow, warm or purple cool, and then adding white. This method pretty much works for black dogs generally. So if you are not sure how to paint them, try using the colours I have suggested. I painted the cat, my dog and the back of the sofa. At this stage, this area here is bothering me. This cushion here is detracting from my dog's head, so I try adjusting the colour a little. It's still bothering me, so I try lightening it a little and making the crevice of that sofa less prominent by lightening the value. I also block in the paint on the other side of the sofa. Okay, so I'm having major issues with it because I feel my lab is lost against that sofa, which is what I knew would happen before I started. My thought process is that I need to adjust the value in this area. I have a lighter area on top of the dog's head, and if it is next to a darker colour, it will be more dramatic and help make my dog more noticeable. I also have the option of changing the temperature, but I chose to keep it cool. How about the colour? At this point, I'm thinking a cool purple may work better because my cat is taking on a golden yellow-orange hue, and purple being its complementary will help add contrast. What about this area down here though? I'm still not sure. I'm thinking perhaps if I rough up my brush strokes so that I can create contrast between my smooth strokes on my dog's face and then rougher strokes for the sofa, that may be enough. I scrape back this area and give it a whirl. This is now what the painting looks like. I'm not liking that crease of the sofa as this shape does not look good next to my dog. So I conclude I need to scrub this crease out. Also, I'm now thinking I need to go darker in this whole area. And I need to go warmer because this area here is really cool. Because I have used cadmium red in my dog, I steer clear of this colour altogether and opt for a cooler red of alizarin crimson and ultramarine. I'll try pushing this whole area between red, blue and purple and hope it will be enough to create some contrast between my dog and the sofa. Also, I decide to keep the brush strokes rough. I scrape back the paint and have another go. This one is my last attempt, which I am really happy with. That dark red area is enough to force your eye back onto my Labrador. It would have been much more helpful if I had figured this out before I started in a program like Photoshop or Procreate. But once faced with the problem of a painting that wasn't working, I went through my value, temperature and colour options one by one. For a painting to be successful, it needs the following elements to all be correct: drawing, value, temperature, edges and colour. The more of these things that I change, the harder it will be to keep the believability of my painting. This is why it took me so many attempts to get it right. Because I knew that for my painting to work, all these elements had to be in harmony together, it could only be one or perhaps all of these things. So I just went through them logically, changing the value and seeing if that worked, then moving on to the colour and realising that wasn't enough either, so changing the temperature too. Understanding drawing, value, edges, temperature and colour will help you figure out what to do when your painting starts to go wrong. This is all I did here. I hope you have enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.